What's up, gamers? Let's jump right into it. Is the Sega Astro City Mini worth it? Well, if you want to get one right now from Limited Run, it is completely and utterly sold out. They had only 3,500 units here in the US. So if you are trying to get this system, you're going to have to go through Amazon.jp, and you can get it for pretty much similar costs if you include the shipping on there, but you'll have to wait a few extra days before you can actually have it sent to your home. Or you could go through eBay and pay an arm and a leg. But what are you getting for this price? Well, when you look at the system, it's pretty awesome looking. I mean, it really does resemble the Astro City arcade machines that were in Japan. So the miniaturized version has that 400 by 800 resolution, 16.7 million colors, HDMI out at 720p, and then you have your standard 2 USB ports out for controllers, HDMI out port, and also, I guess, the power cable to get you going. Now, with those 2 USB ports, you can use a number of accessories that are being sold for the Astro City Mini, including an arcade stick and a D-pad. But let's jump right into the games. 37 titles. There's something there for everybody, whether you're into columns or platformers like Alex Kidd, if you're into beat-em-ups like Golden Axe, or shooters, or even fighters. There's something in here for everyone. So I think if you take the time to explore the titles, you will definitely find more than a handful that you enjoy, regardless of what you're into. But enough running through a list of features that are included with the Astro City. Let's take a look at the games. Let's take a look at the menu system and how it's presented to the user. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. There was a lot of love that you can tell was put into creating this menu system. It's very simplified, very clean, very colorful. I love the way things are laid out. It's a little weird that the games are not in alphabetical order, which I thought was a little odd, but you kind of could get around. I mean, it's 37 games. You're not going to go crazy trying to find the game that you're looking for. When you think about the menu settings, you know, they're very simple. I mean, you can do a language change here, you can adjust brightness and volume, you can change the wallpaper on some of these games. Interesting enough, you can't unfortunately change the difficulty settings. It is what it is, and so if you're having a hard time and struggling with any of these games while you're playing them, well, it's unfortunate, it's tough luck. I mean, these were meant to consume quarters at the arcade, and so you're just gonna have to deal with it. Practice makes perfect, and you know, keep on trying. And I think if you do that, you will definitely get through some of these harder titles. But if you get frustrated easily, you may find this a little bit annoying that you cannot adjust it to your comfort zone. You do get a lot of games, as I mentioned before. I really do feel there is something for everyone. But it's just one of those things where you're going to have to explore if you don't know some of these titles. Again, I am a huge fan of Golden Axe, Virtua Fighter, Alex Kidd, things like that. They really are parts of my childhood, and I think everyone will kind of agree that if you were a Sega fan, like, those are names that resonate almost immediately to you. Alter Beast, Shinobi, I mean, those are all fantastic franchises that have endured the test of time in many cases. And you know, there are games that, even though they are much older, you can launch and still get a lot of joy from just playing them. Definitely appreciate the fact that they put that instruction set in such a clean way for the controls for every one of these games. And it's even more interesting that as I launch Alter Beast, that it invokes this nostalgia of me being a child at the arcades and trying to play this game that was so cool. One of the best things about it was, you know, that transformation to the various beasts, right? And here I am, you know, doing terrible, trying to collect the orbs that will get me there. But it is just amazing to be able to play this game again. I forgot how difficult it was at the arcade. I did have the Genesis version as well at home, and I feel that that actually gave me way more leeway when it came to the difficulty. And this arcade difficulty is definitely something to contend with, I think, at this time. And so it's one of those things where you, luckily, of course, you have infinite quarters by just hitting the start menu, but you can at least feel what it was really like to play this in the arcades. And then here's another wonderful title coming out on the system, of course, Golden Axe. Oh my gosh, this definitely evokes memories. It was awesome to play this with someone else, and it was a good way to actually meet other players at the arcade, because this was one of the few multiplayer games where you weren't trying to contend against one another, but you were working together to actually progress in the game. And you know, of course, it's got that, I guess, Conan the Barbarian feel mixed with maybe a little bit of Lord of the Rings, and you know, there's magic and there's mischief and there's beating little elves up to collect you know, their magic bottles, which you can use to perform magic spells in the game. I always found that really interesting. It's some form of abuse, I think, to kick those little guys across the screen, but you know, that was what the game was then. And the I guess great part about this is that it's a reminder of what it was like to hear this in the arcade in all its glory when it was out. You know, I think even the console versions, of course, never could recreate that experience, but they can always bring you back to remembering that experience if you had the pleasure of actually playing this in the arcade. And I also forgot about the mountables. Like, here's a good example of one of the mounts that you can jump on. If I could kind of knock this this barbarian or Amazonian lady off, you can kind of just jump on them and carry them forward. Now, Shadow Dancer was definitely one of my favorite games. This is just such a great series when you think about platformer ninja action game. It is definitely one of those games that stood out to me in the arcade as well. I'm pretty sure most of you remember. The big thing was having this dog that followed you around and can perform magic tricks as well. And you know, as you can see, here's like your typical platform run against these, you know, these, I guess, enemies that are just meant to berate you with bullets and throwing knives and all types of stuff, and you're just kind of trying to get through here. And it's one of those, hey, I don't have to think very hard, I just have to avoid these objects as they come to me, whatever they are, and as long as I don't get hit by anything, I can survive. And if you're looking for kind of that, I want to hang out and chill and get that Tetris feel, Columns is definitely the way to go. I've never been a really good Columns player. I've rarely even played Tetris, and that was one of the most popular titles back in the day. You know, but every once in a while, when I want something different, where I don't want to shoot or kick or destroy anything, this is definitely one of those titles that you can play and just kind of let your mind wander as you try to solve, you know, this endless barrage of falling jewels, I guess is the best way to describe them. But this was definitely something that was very popular on many Sega platforms, and so I'm not surprised. And then now we finally get to an example of one of my favorite genres, of course, which is fighting games, right? And Virtua Fighter was one of those titles that really started setting the bar when it came to 3D fighters. It was basically almost the first, if not the first. I'll have to check my sources, but I think it was the first. And it was amazing, and seeing it in the arcade was amazing. And even though, you know, many titles came out after that, you know, you had your Battle-Arena Toshindens and your Soul Caliburs and the Tekkens, and you know, we've come a long way from Virtua Fighter, and so it's lost a lot of its luster if you compare it to those type of games, but people still enjoy it. People still enjoy playing this game, and I will tell you, even though I like all the newer games, it's nice to every once in a while go back and remember some of the history, and this is a great way to do that. It's one of those things that you just can't get any other way, and playing it on the Astro City Mini, especially if you have those arcade sticks that you could purchase, and playing it head to head on your couch connected to your television set with a friend, it definitely brings back those memories. It's such an awesome experience, you know, and I'm very thankful that Sega included this title in here. I actually would have hoped they would have included a couple of other Virtua Fighter titles, but you know, you can't get everything that you ask for, and so have to be happy with what you get, right? So all this being said, we saw some of the games, we know the specs now, but the real question at the end of the day, the real thing that we need to answer is it worth it to get the Astro City Mini? Now, comparing it to everything out there, I'm going to say a big yes. Yes, get this while you can. Even if you have to import it from Amazon Japan, it is a wonderful showpiece to have in your collection. It's awesome. It plays well. I love the nostalgia factor. Go get it while you can still get it. And that's my suggestion. And this is That Game Dragon.